Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Facebook Lives.
Today, we're going to introduce what we're going to call Myth Busting Mondays.
That's right, Myth Busting Mondays. We need like a big echo chamber going there every time we say it.
Thanks for joining us today. Today, we're going to talk about the myth of confidence.
That's right.
There's this pervasive myth in the dating coaching world. And by the way, we don't call ourselves dating coaches because who wants to date? Anybody out there? Give us a like, a yes. No, you don't want to date. You want to be with your beloved. You want to find your soulmate. The goal is not dating. So we call ourselves soulmate coaches. So anyway, this pervasive myth among those dating coaches out there is that if you're more confident, all of your dating troubles will go away. And the thing about that is then you have to manufacture this thing called confidence. Like as if you're not an extrovert, oops, you don't get to date well or end up with your beloved or find your soulmate.
Exactly.
And that's not how it works.
No, not at all. And how exactly do you just turn on that confidence, right? You just look at a mirror and do a couple affirmations. Hey, you are awesome. You are confident, right? I mean, where does it come from, right? So it's not like you can just suddenly turn on confidence when you're ready to go dating or if you just think about confidence or write affirmations about confidence, that suddenly you're going to become more confident. And that's going to change the results you get in your dating and love life.
And the other thing that we find really fascinating about this myth of confidence is that it's pervasive in the dating coaching world, whether that coach is coaching women or coaching men. I mean, I can see on some level, because technically it's the man's role to ask the woman out on a date, that confidence would play a part. But we find it's true with coaches that are also coaching women, that somehow confidence is this missing key. And if you're just confident, everything else will fall into place. So what we're going to say is a big, we need to get sound effects and stuff. We need like a big red X to say confidence is not the secret key. Instead, what you need instead, and I mean, this is the thing, is it's something you already have. So don't worry about it. You don't have to break out a pen and paper.
Right.
Because we're going to make it really easy. The thing that you need instead of confidence is to practice being authentic.
Exactly. Just practice being authentic. Now, what does that mean, right? What does it mean to be authentic? Because we hear so many times from our friends and family that if you just go be yourself. Just go be yourself on a date. That's all you got to do. Like you're being anybody else, right? Like you're walking around, like I'm walking around. I'm not being myself right now. I'm being Jim, right? I mean, come on. What does that even mean?
Right. It's just not great advice. So it's this other myth, right? This myth of just be yourself. These are all tied together, by the way. And it all comes back to this piece about authenticity. So ultimately, if you're hearing from your friends and family, oh, look, you won't have a problem. Just go be yourself. The thing that they're saying is to be the person you are with those people that already know you and love you and like you. And the way you are around those people is you're just comfortable in your own skin. Even if you feel uncomfortable, you're sort of there's a comfort in the discomfort, right?
Like exactly.
Those big family gatherings where some people feel like the odd person out. That's okay if you feel like an alien in your family. That's a proper feeling. What we're saying is to be authentic ultimately puts all of these other myths to rest. Because when you're authentic, you're showing up as the real authentic you. Because ultimately, I think people are afraid to show up as the real authentic self because they're afraid of that rejection. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to talk about this quite a bit in these Facebook Lives. And if you go to our blog at loveonpurpose.com, you go there, go to our blog, you can search in a blog for different articles. And we talk a lot about showing up authentically and being authentic, because being authentic is this key that these other people are trying to convince you is confidence. The thing is that being authentic is tricky because we get mixed up between this idea of honesty and authenticity. And we all have that friend that like reamed us a new one day by pulling us aside and saying, can I be honest with you? Can I be honest with you?
Oh, I don't know.
And what they share in being honest is their opinion. So their opinion has nothing to do with the facts, right? Their opinion is just theirs. And so a lot of times, like I was saying in the blog, we talk about not putting your lovability in the hands of a stranger. So when you go on a date, it's not about that person bestowing love upon you and deciding that you're worthy. When you show up authentically, you know that you are worthy, right? That you are truly worthy of love. You came into the world as this little baby, as the human embodiment of the energy of love. And
That's
that's
right.
still who you are.
It's
So
who you'll always be, right?
you're worthy right now of that love. So this thin line between honesty and authenticity is when you're authentic, you're not sharing about the other person, right? Let me be honest with you. It's like that person's opinion about you or your behavior or something you did or whatever, right? Let me be honest with you. It's their perception of you. That has nothing to do with honesty. Authenticity has to do with you and how you are currently feeling in that moment.
So let's go back to that family dinner, right? And this idea of you being comfortably yourself. Now, you can be a naturally incompetent, confident, unconfident. You can be somebody who doesn't have a lot of confidence, right? And there you are with your family, and you're just being yourself. You're comfortable in your relationship with the people around you, and you're comfortable in the way you're behaving. You may have an inner dialogue that says, oh boy, I'm such an idiot, or I'm stupid, or whatever, but you're still comfortably, authentically yourself. And those people around you are saying, hey, just go out and be yourself, right? So, what we're really talking about here is finding that place that's not about confidence. It's not about your opinion about other people or the person you're dating or anybody. It's about tapping into how you feel and what you want and what's going on with you in that moment.
And then expressing that. So if you can share in the moment how you're feeling. And I think what happens when people start dating is they go out on that first date with a lot of hope. They go on the second and third date with even more hope that it's going to work out. Well, you don't know the end of the book at the beginning. You've got to read through all the pages and all the chapters to get towards the end of the story, right? So you don't know where it's going to go. But the biggest mistake that we have seen clients make in all these years of doing this work as soulmate coaches is that they're showing up trying to be pleasing to the other person. And we call that twisting into a pretzel, right? What shape can I take? What elaborate pose can I do to get you to bestow this love that I want from you upon me, which is really kind of backwards, right? We call that dating backwards, because the reality is if you show up as the real authentic you, you're going to find somebody who digs you, because that's ultimately what you're looking for anyway.
Yeah, and the thing about twisting into a pretzel is it gets exhausting after a while, trying to hold that shape, trying to be that person. And what happens when you're twisting into a pretzel and you're trying to be somebody that you think somebody else wants is, say that person likes who you're being, and you end up on another date, and you end up on another date, and you end up on another date, and then that person's like, hey, I really like you, let's get into exclusivity, and finally you're like, oh good, they like me, I can relax and be myself. And that other person's like, wait, what happened?
Where'd that person go?
Where'd that person go?
Yeah.
Right? Now suddenly you're not as accommodating, or suddenly you don't like the things that you went along with, right? Because you were being accommodating. So, so much about being authentic is about not being accommodating, not going along to get along, not going along to be liked, not trying to be intentionally likable, right? It doesn't mean you're trying to be unlikable. It doesn't mean you're being a jerk. It doesn't mean you're sharing your opinion about somebody else, right? But what it means is just you're just showing up and speaking about what's going on with you. Say you sit down right as you meet the person, you say, wow, I just got to say, I feel really nervous right now, right? That's an authentic statement on a first date, and a certainly reasonable thing to say.
Yeah, and it's funny when you vocalize those things, that feeling dissipates. There's somewhere to go because you're moving through the emotion, you're acknowledging it, and then you can move through it. So if you sit down and go, oh wow, I'm finding that I'm a little bit nervous to meet you, it's actually kind of charming. People think that's charming when you're authentic. When you're your real authentic self, there's so much endearing yumminess in there instead of sort of this fake positive that people come to that first meet with, right?
Yeah.
That first date. They come with this sort of fake, oh, let me just go along to get along, right? Now if you use that phrase, to go along to get along. And it's so disingenuous because you're not showing up authentically. The key to finding a life partner is to be your authentic self. And if that person rejects you over you being your authentic self, better to find out on date 1, 2, or 3 instead of 1, 2, or 3 years into a relationship.
Yeah.
That would be bad, right? You don't want to suddenly find out later that person doesn't like who you really are. I mean, there's plenty of times where I have been upset by Matthew's behavior or something he said, right? So that one little thing might bother me a little bit, but I still like who he is. I still like his authentic self. I'm in love with his authentic self, who he really is, right? I'm just upset about this one little thing that happened, right? Like a mistake or a thing or whatever. And that's easy to overlook. And so a lot of times, we sort of joke and say, oh, I love you anyway.
I love you anyway, too.
I love you anyway. And so that's really how you find that person that's going to go through these day-to-day life when you're sometimes in a good mood and sometimes in a bad mood. I mean, Everybody is going to be in a bad mood someday. Everybody's going to be somewhat cranky or moody or have their thing that they're a control freak about or whatever it is. Like those little sort of warts and things that we just go, yeah, I wish I could just change this one thing about this person. And the thing is you don't have the power to change anything about another person. The only person you have control over is yourself. So when you step into your authentic self and you share your authentic self by how you're feeling, that is the doorway to connect with a beloved partner.
Exactly.
And that's the way you connect from date 1 all the way through to year 70 together.
And let's face it, I mean, what do you really want, right? You say you want to meet your soulmate, you want this great romance, whatever it is you think it is that you're looking for, which you really desire as a human being, because this is what all human beings on some core level really desire. You desire to feel connected to somebody else, to feel connected to other people.
Like
right?
You want that feeling
connection.
That somebody gets you.
Exactly.
Right?
Connection
like
is the goal.
Yeah.
And so you meet somebody and maybe you're not their cup of tea or they're not your cup of tea, but you still create a connection on that date. Now that's a nice thing, right? You may never see each other again, but you created a moment of connection, a moment of authenticity between the two of you. And I think that is more important than anything else, right? And so the only way you're going to create that connection is by showing up authentically. We have this client, and one of her love imprint patterns, right? And for those of you who follow us, we talk a lot about your love imprint and how that affects how you are in relationship. And like Orna said, you can go to the blog and Google your love imprint and find all kinds of explanations about what's going on with your love imprint. But that's not what this video is about. But this client in her love imprint, other people's needs are more important than her own. And that's the way that she feels safe in the world. And she came to us because in her marriage, she always put her attention on her husband, right? And at some point, she started getting clear in their marriage, years into their marriage, she started getting clear that, oh, wait, I think I want something else. I want some different things. And she started speaking up about them. And she got a lot of resistance from her husband because he's like, wait, what happened to that person, right? What happened to that person that I'm used to being around? And it's not a situation that's comfortable for either one of you, right? It's not a place you want to find yourself deep into a marriage with children together and a life together and suddenly start changing the dynamic without the other person on board with that change.
When we talk about communication, most people judge the success of their communication with another person based on the response they get from the person they're communicating with.
Yeah.
Which is a huge mistake. Like, again, if we can make the big red, the big X and the sound, right? We want to say that. You cannot judge the success of your communication based on how that other person responds. Instead, the only way to judge the success of your communication is by how authentic you were able to be. How authentic were you able to be? Yeah. So if you're able to be a level 10 authentic, just let it all whatever. Maybe you didn't say it perfectly, but you got the words out and you shared about yourself, right? This is not sharing an opinion about the other person. You're just sharing from your heart, your own personal truth, right? You're speaking your own truth. That's what being authentic is. And when you're able to do that, That's the space where this emotional intimacy comes in. This is the space when you're dating from this emotionally authentic place that you can cut out the riffraff really quickly and stop, quote, wasting time, right? People always say,
Yeah.
oh, I'm tired of wasting time dating, right? Dating, that, dating apps are a waste of time. And it's like, I don't know how, if you're connecting with people at all, even just for a moment, I don't know how you can consider that a waste of time. Because
Exactly.
every person you meet knows people you haven't met yet, right? But the way to waste time dating is to be going along to get along, to be showing up and putting your lovability in the hands of a stranger, twisting into a pretzel, trying to please somebody instead of just showing up as your authentic self. And when you show up as your authentic self, that means you might disagree with that person.
Yeah.
That means that on, date 2 or 3, that person might be saying something that you disagree with or that you don't like to do. They might be proposing that you go off and do something that's not your cup of tea, and you go along because you think he's hot or you think she's really pretty. And you get yourself in trouble because you're trying to please this other person. So if you don't ever plan on going bowling because it's not your thing, then maybe you should let that person know from the beginning. Like, hey, I can totally go bowling with you once, but I maybe bowl once every 5 years because my friend's having a birthday party at the bowling alley, right? But bowling's not my thing. So you can even say, wow, I've never really tried that before. I'd be willing to go and do that once or twice, right? Just be authentic. Or no, that's not it. I'm never going zip lining. No way, no how. Not doing it, right? Or whatever that activity is. And so as somebody is proposing opportunities for you to get to know them, because that's what dates are. They're proposing opportunities for you to really get to know who they are. And you really only know somebody over time. So instead of jumping in feet first or heart first or loins first or whatever it is that you generally do it, instead take some time and let the dating process be a process. And instead of worrying about whether you're confident or not, or whether that's the perfect dress or just the right shade of nail polish, you'll almost never see me with nail polish, by the way, because we grow food and I'm a gardener digging in the dirt. So
Kind of hard to keep it on.
yeah, I can't, I just don't. So, but I do like having my nails done. Quarantine time, I'm not getting them done anyway. So at any rate, if you're struggling about just the right shade of nail polish to go with that dress because you think you're going to impress the guy, I hate to tell you, ladies, guys don't even notice. I mean, they really don't.
Yeah.
I mean, my girlfriend and I once were talking about my hairdresser that I've had for years told me that it's harder for her to get somebody to part their hair on the other side than to cut it, short or grow it long or whatever. Like the length thing is one debate, but she can't ever get somebody to switch what side they part on. And so my girlfriend and I jokingly parted on the other side. And we were like, we thought we looked ridiculous. We are just laughing and being goofy. And her husband walked in and is like, what's going on in here? And just talked to us for a bit and then left the room. And we were like, he didn't even notice. We thought we looked ridiculously weird. And he did not notice at all. And I'm sure if I parted my hair on the other side, Matthew wouldn't notice either.
What side do you part it on?
Hello?
I'm joking.
I know.
Just joking.
So look,
Yeah.
The thing is it's not about being confident. Now look, if you have a magical pair of shoes that make you feel confident and you feel sexy and good, awesome. Go wear those on all your first dates. If you have some little superstition thing where you have to wear that piece of jewelry or those socks or that dress or that handbag, whatever, if that's your thing, go for it. We don't want to take away anything from you. If you have some little magic thing that makes you feel sexy, by all means, do that thing.
Yeah.
But overall, just work on being authentic, speaking up, share your truth, because that's what somebody really wants to know. They want to know who you really are.
The truth is, in all the years we've been doing this work and all the clients we've worked with in our online programs and in private coaching, is it doesn't really matter what the person looks like, right? It doesn't really matter whether they're big or small or tall or short or whatever, that everybody ultimately finds somebody who loves them for who they are.
Yeah.
And that's really all anybody really wants. So stop thinking, wow, if I lost 20 pounds, or wow, if I could just change my face, or wow, if I could just do whatever to your body, right?
That's not it.
That would somebody make you more confident. Right? That's not it.
No.
Because that's not about showing up authentic. So we hope you're enjoying Myth Busting Mondays. Myth Busting Mondays, that goes, right? We're going to have
Yeah.
a schedule for all of our Facebook Lives during the week.
Yeah. So
So
we've
every
got,
Monday is Myth Busting Monday. Myth Busting Monday.
oh, tongue twister.
Yeah.
So if you have a myth that you want us to address on Myth Busting Mondays, please share it here in the group. We'll
Yeah.
see about tackling it. We've got a lot of myths that we're going to work our way through on Mondays. Lots of myths about love, most of the, the accident stuff, right? So
Exactly.
like, oh, I slipped on that banana peel and I fell in love. So we're going to be going over all of those myths that keep you from the love you want. We're going to give it to you straight and that straight talk way that we have. So we hope you're enjoying this. Tomorrow is going to be, guess what? It's going to be Ask O&M Tuesday.
That's right. So ask us your questions.
We're going to be taking them live.
We're going to be taking them live. We'll actually,
Yeah.
Orna's going to be in the chat so we can be seeing what the questions are coming up. So we
Yeah.
really want your feedback live during the events.
We're going to be taking them live at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern tomorrow.
Exactly.
So join us live tomorrow if you want your question answered in real time. And please be patient because we haven't done it that way before, but I'm planning to be on my phone and looking in the chat and addressing questions as they come up live. So Tuesdays are moving forward going to be Ask O&M Tuesdays, and Thursday we're still working on a catchy name, so we're still working on that one. But we are delighted to have you join us here. And common sense about love, we hope that you find this pretty common sense because it's our job to help you get the love you want.
All right, everybody have a great night.